Welcome to another Explainer. Today, we're talking about a name that is instantly recognized no matter where you are in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo. For years, we've all watched him perform like this infallible machine, right? Breaking records, defying age, and completely redefining athletic excellence. But today, we're going to do something a bit different. We are going to deconstruct that myth. We're going to look way past the dazzling goals and those flashy celebrations to uncover the intense psychological architecture, the hidden daily habits, and the profound adversity that actually built the legend. Okay, let's dive into this. Because to truly understand Ronaldo's greatness, we have to ask ourselves a pretty tough question. What happens when the world's greatest athlete almost breaks? We rarely consider the human cost of being a global icon. We just see the polished final product out there on the pitch. But what we don't see is the crushing pressure, the physical breaking points, or the devastating personal losses that are happening when the cameras are turned off.
I want you to think of his career kind of like an iceberg. Above the surface, you have the icon, the trophies, the massive fame, the 850-plus career goals, the immense wealth, the whole shebang. But beneath the waterline, that's the reality. And that reality includes undergoing heart surgery at just 15 years old, enduring intense, career-threatening media hate, and navigating some incredibly deep personal grief. His very public triumphs stand in heavy, heavy contrast with his hidden traumas.
Let's start right at the beginning with that number, 15. At just 15 years old, way before the world even knew his name, Ronaldo's career was basically almost over. He was diagnosed with a pretty rare condition called tachycardia, which basically means his heart would race completely out of control even when he was just resting. So he had to undergo surgery where doctors literally used a laser to treat the source of the problem inside his heart. It was a terrifying moment that could have ended the whole dream before it even began. But he recovered, and he stepped right back out onto the pitch.
Part 1. Crushing pressure and backlash.
Surviving that hard surgery was really just the physical beginning for him, because as his star rose, so did the massive target on his back. Just consider the sheer number of media storms he's had to weather. When he was only 21, right after a clash with his Manchester United teammate Wayne Rooney at the 2006 World Cup, an entire nation turned on him overnight. He was actively booed in virtually every stadium he stepped foot into. Then in 2008, right at his physical peak, he suffered these severe ankle injuries that needed surgery, and he survived a really brutal Ferrari crash, all while the media was mercilessly questioning his future. And then years later, there was the Spanish tax case, courtrooms, accusations, the very real threat of jail time. He was constantly enduring legal, physical, and reputational attacks that would easily break most athletes.
And that intense pressure cooker environment followed him right into the later stages of his career too. Take his second stint at Manchester United. It started off as this triumphant return in August 2021, but by October 2022, things had severely deteriorated. He was left on the bench, refused to enter a game as a substitute, and was officially suspended by the club. This all ultimately culminated in November 2022 with his explosive Piers Morgan interview, where he stated he felt completely betrayed by senior figures at the club. The fallout was swift, and his contract was mutually terminated. But looking behind the headlines, what we were really seeing was a player expressing sheer exhaustion from fighting relentless battles both on and off the field.
Part 2. Profound personal tragedies. But those professional battles really pale in comparison to the trials of his private life. Throughout his entire career, Ronaldo hasn't ever really hidden his emotions. Think about the contrast between the tears of a 19-year-old losing to Greece in the Euro 2004 final and the tears of a 39-year-old missing a crucial penalty against Slovenia at Euro 2024. Now, some critics love to jump on this, but that raw vulnerability, it's actually a massive strength. It builds empathy. It shows us that even after winning literally everything there is to win in the sport, his intense emotional investment in the game and in his teammates has absolutely never faded.
And that deep capacity for feeling brings us to the most heartbreaking moment of his life. In April 2022, Ronaldo and his partner Georgina suffered the devastating loss of their newborn twin son, Angel. It is an unimaginable pain for any parent to go through. Yet, the relentless schedule of world football simply carried on around him. The matches just didn't stop.
He later opened up about this profound grief, saying, "Piers, it was probably the worst moment that I passed through in my life since my father died." He admitted that he and his family really struggled to understand why this was happening to them. In fact, reports suggest this tragedy brought him the closest he ever came to just walking away from football entirely. So how does a person navigate through that kind of profound personal tragedy alongside all that crushing global media pressure and still somehow perform at the absolute highest level of human capability? Well, the answer lies in the mind. Part 3. Building a mental fortress.
It all starts with a concept that psychologists call reframing hardship. See, Ronaldo grew up in poverty on the island of Madeira, in a home that was heavily destabilized by his father's struggle with alcoholism. But rather than letting that rough background defeat him, he used it. He learned to view sacrifice and adversity not as a punishment, but as an active investment toward his future success. He took all that external negativity, whether it was childhood poverty, a sick parent, or later on those stadium-wide boos, and he transformed it into incredibly powerful, laser-focused motivation.
To manage the extreme stress of performing in front of millions of people, he relies on a highly specific set of mental tools. He practices daily meditation and mindfulness just to stay present. Through years of playing, he's developed what sports psychologists call a broad visual attention. That basically means he can process incredibly complex information on the pitch while completely filtering out the noise of the screaming crowd or even his own internal nerves. He is actively optimizing his autonomic nervous system to stay perfectly calm in the absolute middle of chaos.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how he talks to himself in those high-stakes moments. His internal script is incredibly optimistic and strategic. When it's the 97th minute and he's stepping up for a match-defining penalty, he tells himself, "I've done it thousands of times before. It's simple. Just a great strike. Just the sweet sound of the ball impacting the net." Notice what he doesn't do. He doesn't think about the consequences of missing. He only visualizes the precise, perfect execution of the skill.
And that unwavering confidence, it comes from a deeply methodical approach to mastery. And honestly, you can actually apply this framework to your own life. Step 1, he perfects new skills completely alone, without any pressure at all, often spending hours after team practice just running and shooting. Step 2, he then integrates those perfected skills into team practice. And finally, step 3, he applies them in actual matches under immense real-world pressure. It's a systematic progression that ensures when the crucial time comes, his body already knows exactly what to do. But of course, that mental fortress has to be supported by a rock-solid physical foundation.
Part 4. The Anatomy of Discipline. Because for Ronaldo, greatness isn't just an occasional stellar performance, it is a rigid, daily habit. Let's look at another number, 5. Get this. Instead of a traditional 8-hour block of sleep at night, Ronaldo often takes 5 90-minute naps throughout the entire day. Based on sports science research, he views this fragmented sleep cycle as the optimal way to maximize his body's recovery patterns. He doesn't just sleep, he strategically recovers.
And his overall recovery arsenal is intense. Let's rapid fire through this routine. He uses cryotherapy, subjecting his body to extreme cold to kill off muscle inflammation. Then he pivots straight to heat therapy and saunas. He uses hydrotherapy, training in water so he gets resistance without grinding down his joints. And he fuels this entire machine with 5 carefully planned protein-rich meals every single day. No alcohol, no sugary drinks. His discipline is absolute. He's created a lifestyle where excellence is simply his default setting.
And this brilliantly illustrates how he ties it all together. You've all seen his famous stance before a free kick, right? Well, he's not just posing for the cameras. He is deliberately dropping his breathing rate down to 5 to 7 breaths per minute. This specific pattern activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It lowers his heart rate, reduces his cortisol levels, and physically shifts his brain from a reactive state into a highly deliberate, optimized state for decision-making. It is pure applied science happening right in the middle of a football match.
So what should we really take away from all this? We've seen the iceberg, the heart surgery at 15, the vicious public backlash, the devastating personal losses, and we've seen the meticulous, unyielding daily systems he built to overcome every single piece of it. His mindset teaches us that perceived limitations are really just temporary challenges, and that true greatness is forged in discipline. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought to ponder today. If the world's most scrutinized athlete can turn that level of crushing adversity into an absolute legacy, what's stopping you? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep pushing, and I'll catch you next time.